You bought it as an investment. Okay. So as an investment, you should be looking at it at least biannually, if not annually, and determining whether or not that investment is, number one, giving you the right return or your expected returns, and number two, is there another better investment that you could make, even if you sell it at a loss?
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. Today we're pulling back the curtain on a topic most agents avoid, but the top 1% are using to dominate their local zip codes. I'm your host, Scott Bursey, and today we are joined by a powerhouse in the commercial real estate world with over 35 years of experience and more than $2.5 billion in transactions. As CEO of Commercial Brokers International, he is known for his client-first boutique approach and his deep commitment to community. He is one of the most respected names in commercial real estate, not just for his deals he closes, but for the long-term wealth he builds. Please welcome George Pino. George,
Scott,
fantastic to have you here.
It's great to be here. I think I need to hire you to follow me around all the time. First of all, you have a great voice, but, I need that hype man up there.
I'm excited to have you on the show, and hopefully it's showing. George, before we dive into the market dynamics, please give our audience the full story. How did your career begin, and how have you been able to reach the heights of your success that you have?
Well, it began in real estate actually as a fluke. To be frank with you, I'm half Japanese, half Italian. My mother's Japanese. I was raised to go into more into the science side of life, and I started off in college as a computer science major, and but quickly realized that really wasn't to my liking or feel of what I wanted to do with my life, and I switched out to business marketing, and I've always had more of an entrepreneurial mindset. I started a company in college when it was doing actually fairly well, but it was a seasonal company. After I graduated, I had some time off due to the seasonality of the business. And a friend of mine who was working at a real estate auction company called up and said, we need some part-time help. You interested in making a few $1,000s? I'm like, I'm just sitting around. Sure. And this was a real estate auction company, Open Outcry. And they were the largest in the world. And what was interesting, I found it so exciting and interesting that, and within 2 weeks, they offered me a permanent job position. And I thought, this I could see some opportunity here. I could see, investing, going into real estate. I see what the investors are doing. I see how it's happening. And I ended up taking that job. I was assigned Texas as my territory. I'm some snot-nosed kid just out of college, operating one of their largest territories on the closing department. It was an amazing learning experience. And, I've been lucky enough throughout my career that I've had some amazing people trust me to do things that I never would have trusted myself. I think that responsibility and that expectation helped me get to rise myself up to those levels. Like, for instance, um, about 6 years into, that company, they went public. I was part of a series of layoffs. I ended up getting laid off.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
I was approached by another gentleman who had at the time the largest residential real estate company in the nation, and he wanted to start a real estate auction division. And I was talking to my now business partner, and this was back in 1993 when this happened. And he was like, "Well, this is what we're building. If you're interested, let's do this." And I thought, you know what? Okay, I can do this. Let's do this. And it was a very hard initial 9 months because that was the first time I went from a salaried to a straight 100% commission basis, and that's exactly what we ended up doing. And always been 100% commissioned ever since then. And what ended up happening was within about 2 years, we were actually running that company and growing it. And within 18 months, we actually made it the second largest real estate auction company in the nation. And we were taking a lot of the business away from our previous employers. And, from there, it was great opportunity for us. I knew the back end, the operation side, the closing side, inside and out, but I didn't really know the front end, the sales, the marketing, and all that. And it was a great synergy with my business partner. That's what he had, but we also were able to learn off one another off that. Cut to a few years later, that company was sold. And we were at that time already investing in real estate ourselves, buying multifamily property, single family flips, as well as multifamily long-term holds. And we're buying them throughout Los Angeles, either via auction or finding properties at the time that we liked, and then we'd buy them. And we were thinking, well, what we're going to do is just focus on the investment side. And we had an idea for a socially responsible real estate investment company that actually was probably the first of its kind. This was before the term socially responsible investments actually was coined. We just came to had the idea. My business partner actually had the idea, but I was helped in refining it to make sure that we could actually run the model. And realizing at that time that with the buildings that we own, we couldn't really institute that model in it. They were too small. We started selling those and buying bigger buildings where we'd have the synergies of scale to be able to run that business model. We were then approached by a gentleman who wanted to start a commercial real estate division. He was the largest residential real estate company in LA at the time. And he knew our previous mentor that we started the other company with. And he mentioned to him that he wanted to start a commercial real estate division. He actually was told, I guess, that if you want two guys to do it, here are your two guys. He approached us. We actually turned him down a few times, said, no, we're going to focus on our investments. And he said, well, what's so great about your investment? We actually mentioned it to him, and he fell in love with the idea and the concept. And he made us, all of the Godfather, an offer we couldn't refuse, where he came in as one of our initial investors in that company, put us in contact with a lot of investors. We had free office space use. In exchange, we helped build him the commercial real estate company. Cut to 7 years later, that company is sold to Sotheby's, another NRT owned. and they weren't allowed to do commercial real estate. They're actually licensed at that time. The name is licensed by Sotheby's, by NRT, for residential real estate. They could do multifamily, but not straight commercial at that time. And so we got notice on December 9th that we were shutting down December 31st. And at first, again, our initial response was, okay, we have all these investments that we've been working on. We're just going to focus on that. I still remember when we got the news, we were skiing up in Mammoth, and we were actually skiing with some of the agents that we had recruited, brought on board for the commercial real estate company, because, we believe in having that culture and family kind of atmosphere where not only do we, if I'm spending so much time at work, as I used to say and explain, I have a teenage daughter at home. I don't need any more drama in my life. So the agents in the office better be like-minded and get along. So, cut to lunchtime, my business partner and I looked at each other and said, well, what about all these agents we recruited and trusted us? What are we going to do with them? So, I started making some calls. I was able to put them in contact with some companies that would take them on. But then a group of them came to us and said, if you start your company, we'll come with you. Not initially what we were thinking about doing or wanting to do, but we decided, you know what? They trust us. We're going to trust them. Let's do this. But if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Meaning Commercial Brokers International, the initials, which you see above me, initially started off, the initials were client best interest, because we felt that most commercial brokers didn't necessarily have the client's best interest in mind at that time. So we made sure that we set certain rules that all of our agents would abide by. That if they're going to work with us, they're going to do business alongside us, whether it's on the investment side, the raising capital side, or brokerage side, then they're going to abide by these rules, which is ultimately, I can sum it down to one very simple one, and it's the golden rule. What we're taught in kindergarten. One of my favorite books at that time, and still, everything I ever needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten, and that's basically treat others like you want to be treated. And so we started that whole concept and do that, and that was in 2005. We've grown since then. We have 21 agents. We keep our investments. We've repositioned our investments. At one point, we had a portfolio of about 600 units in Los Angeles and Texas. We had an office in Texas for investment, but also we're always looking to evolve with the changing times. So that's kind of the long story of how I got started and where this company came about, where we were. So
that is an incredible story. Do unto others how you would want done to you. That is fantastic. George, you've overseen over $2.5 billion in transactions across nearly 4 decades. As the market becomes more data-driven and automated, what is one human element in commercial real estate that a computer still can't calculate, but that often makes or breaks an investment?
Relationships. People forget that this is ultimately a relationship business. Our best deals were deals that people have given us or come to us that knew us, that gave us a first look because they knew we could perform, whether it was with a client of mine that I had or whether it was myself that was looking to purchase. It was those deals, it's those relationships, understanding what's coming to market, having that inside look, knowing where to go, not having to fight about debt or working on that because they know that with the past track record and history, that's never going to be replaced by computers. But at the same time, I think that people who aren't embracing AI right now are going to be left behind.
That's such a key distinction. It sounds like in your world, George, the yield on the property is only half the story. The other half
Absolutely.
is the integrity of the partnership behind the asset. In a high-tech market, that rationale equity seems to be the only thing that doesn't depreciate.
Yeah, no, it's the one thing that can't be replaced. Yes, they are getting AI is getting to the point now where they are creating relationships, so to speak, but they're not real relationships. And it's that it's literally that touch, that feel, and being able to go out there and create those and have those. And from that, I've been lucky enough to create and make lifelong friends through a lot of my business. I met my wife through business. So it's just that's never going to be replaced by AI.
Point well taken. In a market that is currently so uncertain, has your gut feeling on a partnership ever caused you to walk away from a deal that, George, looked perfect on paper?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Absolutely. But usually, what looks perfect on paper usually isn't. And what's interesting is some of the best deals that we make are the ones that don't look that great, but it's our gut and our understanding of the market and human nature and the human trends that make it great. So a lot of, like, for instance, the investments that I do, whether with clients or with myself, they're focused on or as I like to say, if the way I do brokerage is the same way I do my investments. I'm geographically agnostic, but extremely location driven. So if the location is extremely strong and it's going to remain strong for whatever reasons, I'm all in. And it doesn't, I don't care if it's a corporate tenant lease or whatever else, if I have the opportunity to reposition it. So, going into a strong location, finding those properties that, regardless of whether or not the tenant is there, it's going to maintain its value because of the location itself. One that I sold to one of my clients that, I was in a 1031 exchange. I had just bought one myself, bought a Chase Bank myself. This came up right after I was already in escrow and went hard. But this was a Chase Bank that was, it's literally kitty corner to the Dallas Cowboy Stadium. If you cross the street, you're in the main Dallas Cowboy Stadium parking lot. That's a location that's never going to go away. It's going to be highly in demand. The best case scenario is if that tenant were to leave. So that's what I look for.
And
it may look good on paper, but it's more the feel, the understanding of the location, understanding of the demographics, and understanding of human nature of what is going to always maintain appeal.
That is some powerful insight. George, it confirms that at your level, that gut feel isn't just a hunch. It's actually high-speed pattern recognition developed over billions of dollars in deals.
Yeah.
You're sensing the friction.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, here's how I like to explain it. A lot of it's there's the science, which is all the data, and that can look great. It can look, how it can look great on paper, but at the same time, there's an art to being able to figure out what is nice. For instance, it's no different than, I love to cook, right? So I can give you a recipe. That's all your data. That recipe's all in front. It's the exact same recipe or exact same ingredients. However, what you put out and what I put out are going to be completely different, versus also a Michelin star chef and what he puts out. It's going to look completely different and probably taste different. That's the art. It's taking that, whether, it's that or, painters, I can give you, Lord knows I can't paint. But, I can have a palette of colors and all the brushes in the world. You put me up against somebody who has that ability to paint, it's going to look a lot different. So that's the art of the actual real estate deal. We have all the data. The data is the paint. but the person making the decision is the artist.
That is great illustration. You can't paint, you say, but that was painted very nicely. George, curious, looking at the current economic climate, what is the one asset class in commercial real estate that you think is being dangerously overlooked right now?
Ultimately, I think right now, multifamily is probably, everyone is saying this, is actually something to look into. People are going to rent. I think with the current economy, you're going to see more renters out there. The cost and affordability of housing is just going up, especially with, because even if they bring debt down, you have other issues, the labor, the materials, all those costs are going up dramatically, and the cost of construction is going up dramatically. So if you can actually find that I think is something that people are a little, because of what's been happening in the marketplace, they're not as, it's not so as shiny. But also, that being said, most of my, or not, I should say most, all my investments now are in single tenant net lease. Um, so, I do like single tenant net lease. And I think that a lot of people overlook it because they don't understand it. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, there's the great truth in single tenant net lease that the value of the property goes down every year that the lease goes down. Well, what they don't tell you though is that you don't sell it with 2 years or 3 years on the lease. You can reposition it. I've repositioned properties that we've ended up selling with 2 or 3 years remaining on the lease by even lowering the rental amount to get a long-term lease signed and get more money than what I paid for it because of that, even though the rent amount's lower. So it's playing that cap rate game, understanding what's going on and understanding that need.
I love that. You're not only building a brokerage, you're building a brain trust. It's clear that your true ROI isn't just in the 2.5 billion in deals, George, but it's the caliber of the leaders you're leaving behind. George.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I love. I give training classes every single day for newer agents and intermediate level agents at 8:30 in the morning. I love doing that. I think education's. I used to all want to be a teacher, bless their hearts, but then I realized I had no patience to be a teacher.
I've got to know, your firm is known for its client-first boutique approach. How do you scale that intimate client experience when you're managing billions of dollars in transactions?
Well, I mean, to scale it, what we've done is actually, number one, it's a company culture, number one. But number two, and this happened. We had been bringing in a lot of international and national clients, but during their expansion out of our area, our geographic area, we found that we were losing a lot of them because we weren't able to service them. So my business partner created, had an idea during COVID. It sat for a few years, and decided to create actually maintain control and created ourselves an affiliate network. It's called the Commercial Real Estate Affiliate Network, CRE Affiliate Network. And we handpicked and chose and went after like-minded companies that had that same kind of client first approach mentality, but also that helpful approach. Meaning, back in the old days, you knew who the good brokers were, you knew who the bad ones were, and you knew who the good shops were and the bad shops were. In fact, if you wanted, way back in the day, if you wanted to tell somebody that somebody wasn't trustworthy, you'd say, oh, they have a blank mentality, naming a company. And you're like, oh, okay, tells me everything I need to know about them. So we looked for people that was exact, or companies that were kind of in our same niche, but also had that same mentality of being open, honest, transparent. And so we created that. We now have 37 affiliates around the world. But because of that, for instance, we're able to sign up one of our clients. We're representing multiple national, international companies now. We went up on a bid against all the larger firms, the CBRE, JLL, Colliers, for a company that was based out of China, that was actually owned by a German company, but based in China. And they were looking to they were online retailers looking to expand on a national scale. So they gave everybody a job, and that was tell us where we should go in these markets, in these submarkets. And we were able to actually turn that around in about 72 hours. The large companies took 2 to 3 weeks. We won the award to represent them because we were all also the same information because we had boots on the ground. We had people there. And it was literally just reaching out to them and asking them for it. And they weren't looking for something in return or anything else other than the knowledge that if we do sign them up, you're going to represent them in your market as well. They dropped what they were doing and got us the information all within 72 hours. So it's finding that. That's how you scale. You find like-minded people that want to do and grow business like you do.
And once again, do unto others like you would like done to you is the message that I'm getting from you, George.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, we've done that all along, and we have a holding company, Pino Asset Management, over here. Pono is a Hawaiian word. There's no direct English translation, but essentially it means to do the right thing. So everything we do is trying to do the right thing. And in some cases, the right thing has cost us money. We've taken losses because of that, but it was what we, growing up, my business partner's from a small town in Nebraska and when I say town, I think it's legally classified as a village by the Census Bureau, 281 people. And I grew up in military bases, which are essentially small towns. And surprisingly, both of our parents said essentially the same thing. And that was, my dad used to say, do what you say what you do what you say. And his dad used to essentially tell him, you could do 1,000 things right, but if you do one thing wrong, that's your reputation. So, that's our mindset. It's what we do. Our handshake is our word. If we say we're going to do something, then we're damn well going to do it.
And what great principles. And look at where the level that it's reached you. George, you focused your entire career on building long-term wealth and managing billion-dollar portfolios. For our audience who is ready to move beyond the single deal hustle and build a truly lasting, scalable real estate enterprise, what is the single biggest shift they need to make in their business model today, in your opinion?
Not a business model shift, it's a mental shift. And actually, I just wrote a white paper that's going to be out on my blog today about this, surprisingly. I mean, I didn't know the question, but I did. And the biggest shift is understanding why you bought that property. You bought it as an investment, okay? So as an investment, you should be looking at it at least biannually, if not annually, and determining whether or not that investment is, number one, giving you the right return or your expected returns, and number two, is there another better investment that you could make, even if you sell it at a loss? If the answer is yes, you should sell it and buy the other investment. We take advantage of the tax laws that we have in place. You can 1031 exchange it. Just don't do it on an annual basis because now it turns into short-term gain. But I always tell people when they call me up, I get calls all the time on properties that we own, and they ask, would you sell it? And I say, absolutely, I'll sell it. I'll sell any property at any time. I'm not tied to it, as long as it meets my goals and what I'm trying to achieve. I'll even sell a property at a loss if I have another property I can exchange into that's going to give me a better return or better opportunity.
That is the fundamental shift from simply being a deal operator to becoming a true enterprise architect. Thank you for painting that picture. George, we must know, what's one piece of advice you can share with our listeners?
I think ultimately, this sounds a little crazy, but, I think the best advice I had is make sure that, you have, work hard, play hard, but make sure you make time for your family and everything else, that you have that's going out there that you can spend that time. I've been lucky enough that, when I was younger, I put a lot of hours in. I mean, when we're starting that real estate auction company when we're starting that to get to number 2 in a year and a half, I was working 18-hour, 20-hour days, literally. I mean, we would take naps in our office. Our assistant would walk into the office and the lights, we'd be blacked out, and literally they'd walk over us to get to the files or whatever else, and because I'm taking a nap. But that afforded me the opportunity that, as when I had kids and started growing and they started growing up, it afforded me the opportunity to not miss any time with them. So I think the sacrifices that what I would advise is that the sacrifices that you make early on will pay dividends off down the road. So whether it's in time, I mean, ultimately what we're doing, what I do, and I look at this for, it's not to gather wealth. It's really buying time and using the money that you have to buy time, whether it's hiring somebody to do some of the work, yard work or whatever. I happen to like yard work, so I do it all myself. But cleaning the pool, I'm not going to do that. Hiring, but it's the wealth or the creation of money is to actually buy time for you so that you can spend it wisely with your loved ones. And that's what I'd recommend.
Incredibly well said. It's a reminder that we aren't just in the business of moving buildings, we're in the business of building people who move with them and spending that time with those people. George, thank you for showing us what a 2.5 billion legacy looks like.
I don't know about legacy, but I'm glad to be on the channel here.
For our listeners who want to follow your work or connect with you, George, or learn more about your insights, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I actually am a little bit more old school. You can reach out to me direct line. I always return calls within 4 business hours, regardless of who it is. That's G Pino at CB or 310-943-8536, or you can always email me at gpino@cbicommercial.com. That's usually the fastest, easiest way to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to give advice. I think that, like I said, we've been fortunate and lucky to have great mentors and people that would actually help us. We didn't have it initially when we got started. I mean, I think my business partner's first education in real estate was, what do I do? And the guy dropped the yellow pages for all you that are old enough to know what a yellow pages is. And all he said was, call everybody. That was his whole education. So a lot of what we do is to try and give back to the community by education. We've made a lot of mistakes. I'm happy to share those mistakes so that people can learn from them and not make the same mistakes.
George, it was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. If you found value in today's episode, please make sure you're subscribed. Until next time, keep your standards high and your vision clear. We'll see you in the next episode, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.